Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to a brand new Let's Play. Today, we're going to be starting a game that is near and dear to my heart, Lufia and the Fortress of Doom. I've mentioned before that I really wanted to play this game, and for whatever reason, I just haven't up to this point. This and that, you know, a lot of it had to do with the fact that I haven't been as physically well as I wanted to be the last few years, and I didn't want to go in and be grumpy, you know? So that's part of it. But I feel like I'm in a good spot, and I really wanted to share this game with you. I mean, obviously, a lot of you are going to know what it is, but hopefully I can teach you something new, or at least make the playthrough semi-interesting. This game was released in the US in December 1993, I think. I purchased the game at a really bad time in my life. We were moving a lot, I wasn't very happy, and this just gave me something to focus on and keep my mind off of the problems I was having. I got it in 1995, that summer, about 2 or 3 weeks before school was getting ready to end. We were fixing to move again, and this game just helped me cope. Really important part of my childhood. I spent all summer playing this game, and this is one of the first games that I sat down and I stuck with, and I didn't go, "Oh, this is too hard," and throw it away. And because of that, it's just got a special place. This is my Final Fantasy II. I didn't play Final Fantasy II when it was new. I played this in the Super Nintendo era. So, now, this is a very contentious opinion, but I like this game a lot more than Lufia 2. Like, I recognize that mechanically Lufia 2 is a much better game, but I will always be let down by Lufia 2's, a lot of Lufia 2's content, I guess. So we have control here. We can go left, right, up, down, whatever. The side paths, they have treasure in them, but there's no point in getting it. You don't get to keep it, and it's not factored into the item completion at the end of the game. So the problem I have with Lufia 2 is my imagination ran wild. Remember, I was 10 or 11 years old at the time, and my little brain just went wild with the story implications. Like, you know, like what must have happened to lead up to this epic conflict that happens here, you know. And I felt like that Lufia 2 didn't live up to my expectations. Which, that's not really Lufia 2's fault. It's really hard to live up to the the imagination of a 10-year-old. Because, let's see, let's go ahead and use Vulcan. You know, the intro here talks about how the armies of the world fought the Sinistrals, and that doesn't really happen in Lufia 2. Like, I just picture the armies of the world rising up to fight these godlike beings, and like falling short, and then like through a series of like skirmishes with them, these 4 heroes coming forth, you know. And that's not how it happened. In Lufia 2, it's pretty much a 4-man band doing miscellaneous stuff throughout most of the game. You know, there's a few scenarios that are centered around the Sinistrals, but for the most part, it's very episodic. As is this game. This game is very episodic as well, but, you know, I feel like there's a better excuse for the Sinistrals to be less active in this game than there is in the first game, in the second game, because in the second game it's a prequel. The Sinistrals are actively trying to take over the world, and whereas in this game the Sinistrals start off dead. You know, they're defeated here in the intro. Spoilers, sorry. But I'm going under the assumption that you at least halfway know what this game is. You've played it before, or you either don't care enough to play it yourself and you want to watch somebody else play it. So I'm gonna shoot lightning at that Hydra. One of the things you'll learn in this game is 90% of all the problems can be solved by shooting lightning at it. I like the little statues here. I think that's a nice touch. There's a bunch of stuff I prefer that, like, in this game that is different in Lufia 2. Hear me talking over this scene here. I need to turn the text speed up. Don't let me forget to do that. The hopes of my people energize me. I think that this scene right here plays out exactly the same at the end of Lufia 2, like dialogue and all. But I might be misremembering. I've always kind of like rationalized the differences in the characters because they don't feel the same, and that's because they've only got a few minutes to, you know, introduce you to the Maxim and his 3 compatriots, and then, you know, it's I always kind of rationalize this is a story being told to children. This is like a fictionalized version of what happened. This is not necessarily. Are you serious? You're gonna put me into a random battle? Anyway, I really love this music, by the way. I return the pain you gave to my people! So, like, one of the things that I prefer in Lufia 1 over 2 and 3, but we don't talk about 3, is the way the Sinistrals look on their combat sprites. I think that the combat sprites in Lufia 1 look the best for the Sinistrals. So, anyway, I'm gonna put Trick. Destroy! One of the things I love about this intro is you are horribly over-leveled for this. Like, comically overpowered compared to, like, how difficult the Sinistrals are. Like, you have to go out of your way and grind for a while to get to this level in the actual game. Like I said, it's you're comically strong. I say that, but there's been a couple of times I've ended up this high. One thing that I also prefer is I like how the bosses, they kind of make that noise and the way they disintegrate. I think that's really cool. Alright, so before I forget, fast. We're good on HP. We will go no further. Interesting thing I learned about this game is that they were Taito, the company that published this, the Lufia series was made by the Neverland. All of them were made by Neverland, who I think was bought by Square Enix. I don't know if Square Enix bought Neverland or they just bought the rights to the IP or what, but Taito tried to port this game over to the Genesis, and it was just going to be a US release only, and then they stopped for whatever reason. I feel kind of bad because I think this game would have done really well on the Genesis, because I'm not super familiar with the Genesis, but my understanding is that they were people who like RPGs. They kind of got shafted on the Genesis compared to the Super Nintendo. Now, like, if I were playing this like super smart, I'd be using the mirror spell and all that, but it's not required because you've just got so much HP. So we're just going to use another overpowered spell, the Valor spell. 35 MP, full HP restoration for all of your party members. Alright, so now we want to use Trick. We do want to use Mirror here, because Aram is mostly immune to magic, and Salon doesn't really have anything better to do, I guess. I guess I could cast Fake. Fake raises your agility, so make Maximum Guy go faster. Agility is very fickle in this game, and I'll go into how I think it works later, but like, there's no concrete, nobody's hacked the game to see exactly how like agility works to my knowledge. Like turn order and stuff and how that is determined. But general rule of thumb is more agility is better. But there is a lot of variance in it. There's actually two parts to agility. Like, you have the agility stat, which determines when you get your turn here to input an action. And then there's another stat that they don't really talk about. Let's see. Let's keep getting those turns. Nice. Alright, go ahead and use, oh yeah, look at the weapons here. If you look at Maxim's sprite, he's actually using two swords. I always thought that was neat. They don't really show that off in, the second game. That's not something that they illustrate, I guess. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, illustrate. But it's a nice little detail here. And I wonder if the dual blade was called something else in the Japanese version, and they called it the dual blade here because Maxim is actually using two swords in his little sprite there. To do Trick. This is Deos. The four Sinistrals are Deos, Aram, Amon, and Gades, and they each have a different thing that they do. Destruction, Chaos, Death, and I don't remember the other one. One of the things I really like about even though they are static images, I like that they do show some kind of motion with the energy around them going blue, white, blue, white. I think that's really neat. And I think the sprites in this game versus Lufia 2 look, I don't know, a little less goofy and a little more imposing. I also think the spell effects are top-notch as well. I mean, the spell effects in Lufia 2 are pretty good, but like there's a lot of like sparkly stuff in this game, whereas they have sprites and stuff in this one, which I think the spell effects are better in this game. Eat some lightning bolts. This shall be the end of everything! This is a good example of something else that kind of irritated me about Lufia 2. I cannot think of a single place in Lufia 2 where they really talk about energy flow. They just kind of, at the end of Lufia 2, they kind of go into this scene right here. And it's not like a huge plot point in this game, but it is mentioned several times. And I feel like it's something that they don't go into in Lufia 2, whereas it seemed like it might be a big deal here because of this confrontation. Ready, steady. Now, you might be wondering, well, you know, this spoils the ending to Lufia 2, so why should I even play Lufia 2? You actually, Lufia 2 is a really good game, don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on Lufia 2. There's a lot of stuff about Lufia 2 I don't like. I think there's a lot of filler, but there's some filler in this game as well. So, like, complaints I have about that game can also be laid on this game. So I don't necessarily want you to think that I'm hating on Lufia 2, even though I prefer Lufia 1. I just want you to know that. But when you play Lufia 2 and you get to this point in the game, there's actually more game after this. And if you play the DS remake, there's like a whole bunch after this. Like they completely changed the whole ending of the game in the DS remake. There's like a New Game Plus that has an entirely different ending where Maxim and Salon survive. Which, personally, I don't really like. I think that Maxim and Salon dying at this point here, when Doom Island falls, is narratively a very important part of the Lufia, like, narrative. Narratively an important part of the narrative. Way to go. Way to use words. I think it's a very important part of the story. You know,